real attributes, and that Allah is the creator of the eternal first intellect and 10 other intellects. Now, this text, Hidayat al-Hikmah, was taught across the Islamic madrasa system in the Ottoman, Safavid, Qajar, Mughal empires for the past 700 years, and 200 Muslim scholars, Sunni and Shia, wrote commentaries on this text. So when Jake has said that if you have these Neoplatonic beliefs, you're a kafir and a mushrik, I want Jake to tell us whether he thinks that madrasas for 700 years were teaching kufr to Muslims, and whether 200 Muslim scholars have been writing commentaries on kufr and shirk for the past 700 years. Now, in this opening statement, I will offer 10 arguments to show that the Tawheed of Islamic philosophy, Ismailis included, is established by reason and revelation, while the Athari creed is surely not. My first 5 arguments will target the logical incoherence and anthropomorphism of the Athari Hanbali creed, and my next 5 arguments will show the true and it must be logically coherent and metaphysically coherent. So it has to be demonstrated. It cannot just be asserted. Second, the true Tawheed must be consistent with the correct understanding of the Holy Quran and Sunnah. The correct understanding, which is not the same as a personal understanding from Jake or the Salaf or whoever it is. Because the Prophet, per Sunni and Shia sources, said that the Book of God, the correct understanding of the Quran, is only with his family, the Ahlul Bayt. Argument 1. The Hanbali Athari creed forbids philosophical and logical arguments. It's completely forbidden. We have a which the Athari creed comes from. Ahmad ibn Hanbal has said that kalam is rejected and forbidden. That means you cannot use reason to prove the existence of God, and you cannot use reason to attack anybody else. So Jake, by just you should refrain from any sort of arguments that you're bringing in the debate, because by making any argument against anyone else's position, the Athari has refuted themselves. We know this because we have the creeds of Ahmad from Hanbali sources. In this creed, he says that Allah has 2 feet, that Allah laughs, he has fingers, he comes down from the heaven, he puts his foot in the fire. We take all the hadith according to the apparent meaning. Well, guess what? The apparent meaning of all of these hadith and creedal statements results in a Zeus-like God, which quite anthropomorphist, and he believed that the divine does have human-like features that I've put on the slide. Now, let me give you an example of how crass this anthropomorphism is. In the form of a young man with curly hair. This is what the hadith says. And the Hanbalis believe in this hadith, and the Atharis have to affirm this hadith. He said the hadith is true. Even Ibn Taymiyyah said this hadith is sahih. So Jake, if you follow the Athari creed, fine. I want you to admit that you believe that Allah has the form of a young man who is beardless and who has curly hair. Just admit. Without a beard. This comes from Christianity. It does not come from the Quran and Sunnah, and this is what the research has shown. So the Athari view of Tawheed and some of these hadith that is based on is not the bullet points that you see here, because this is what the Sunni hadith say. Okay, if he does not want to affirm the apparent meaning, he can be like the rest of Ahl al-Sunnah and do ta'wil. interpret anything with a ta'wil that opposes the apparent meaning. So metaphorical interpretation of God's eyes, God's face, God's beardless human form, God's foot, is he's going to do something called tafweed. He's going to reject the apparent meaning and he's going to reject the ta'wil. And this is known as tafweed al-mahna. The problem with tafweed al-mahna is that it leads and it means that the tafweed position of the Atharis is completely incoherent. Now, if Jake finds a way to get past the logical problem of the Athari, which is what this is called, then he has another no meaning to these statements in the Quran and the Sunnah that are accessible to humans. And that turns parts of the Quran and Sunnah into gibberish, something that has no truth value. Okay, now the problem with this is, according to Arabic grammarians, a statement only counts as kalam or speech if it is mufid, if it is meaningful, something that is not kalam, which is a form of disbelief in the Quran as the Kalam Allah. If something is not Kalam, it cannot be Kalam Allah. And this is why other Hanbali scholars like Hatim al-Hajj have Prophet doesn't know what God coming down at night means. Next argument. If the Athari comes and says either tafweed al-mahna, which is we don't know what it means, mystery. Now, this is fine if you want to appeal to mystery, but then Jake, if you are a true blue Athari,